Right, in the last video I promised you that I was going to make two videos that had nothing to do with my normal work, and I will stick to that even though I had no idea which direction I was going to go in. I have come up with something that I've thought about a few times but just never mentioned. Before I do that, I will mention that Google has completely removed Google Plus, so every single video where I say you can go to my Google page and check all these images closer, you can't do that anymore, so you can blame Google for that. Right, it is going to be on a topic that's been labelled chemtrails. As we know, planes normally leave something called contrails which dissipate almost immediately. These things seem to linger in the sky and spread out, right? But I'm telling you straight off the bat that ever since this topic was being covered by people that I'm subscribed to, I have never fully agreed with it, and I am inclined to disagree with it more and more, and I will get to that. But first I want to say that, look, I am no expert on this. It's something that I have never ever looked into and never will do. I'm not interested, and I think it's pretty ridiculous what's being said about it. And I know that there's supposedly tests out there that have found strontium and barium. Right. Well, can we trust these tests? I mean, who are they? Where they come from? But I will get to why I think it's a load of rubbish. And just because most of you will disagree on what I'm going to say on this, well, that's fine. Because this video is going to be going into my second album, my second playlist, for topics such as this, okay? So I'm no expert, I'm just putting my point across so it goes into the ether. The presentations that I've seen show images such as this, and they say that they are spraying the skies, with this strontium, barium, heavy metals, and it's coming from tanks such as this, and you can go find more images of this type of thing. There's many people that's looking into it, but I just want you to look at this logically, because can you imagine, this is my main point, can you imagine just how much material, how much liquid some place, wherever this is coming from, and it would have to be coming from, well, be made in every single country across the world, because apparently this stuff covers the entire skies above every single city, every single country. So has anybody thought about how much land that actually covers and how much material would have to be made, and the type of secrecy wherever this stuff is being made? Don't you think somebody in that camp would think, hang on a minute, they're poisoning their own people, or they're poisoning us? And the amount what would have to be made daily, day in, day out, and these planes are never going to crash. I can point a few more things out, but I think you should be able to weigh up what I'm getting at here. It turns out that the tanks I've just shown you are for extra carrying of fuel, internal carrying of fuel, extra fuel tanks. I have found other information that show different types, and they say that those are for water ballast. They are water tanks for ballast like you do on a ship, which makes no sense to me. It just sounds like disinformation. But what I'm getting into here, it's linking onto the chemtrail information. I've just got to take in this direction for now, and it's on some work, some research that we all looked at about a year ago, which I still to this day think it holds some water. And it's the amount of fuel that planes can carry, especially large planes like a Boeing 747. When you look at just how flimsy these wings are, what the wings are made out of, which I will show you, and yes, they have got a frame inside them, but so what? And we're also talking about them having two huge engines on each wing. Now I don't know how much they weigh either, right? But we can look at them and we can imagine we're looking at a couple of tons each, and yet these things can just bounce around on the runway, take off, fly around and land. And we all know how far these wings span out. And when you look at the fuel tanks that are meant to be filling these things up, the amount of weight, you can go look into it yourself. The video's not about that. But I can tell you that it takes about 16 wheels across the entire base of these fuel tankers. So why are they trying to tell you that these wings can somehow take that kind of weight? Because I do know more about cranes and what they can do. Anyway, the information I've just been speaking on about the amount of fuel that goes into these planes is just a topic that I found interesting, something that I couldn't really go and check for myself. I just saw some common sense in it and just left it on the shelf in my brain, okay? The video's about chemtrails, so that's what we're moving into here again. So because these engines, I'm thinking, when I began to realize that there was something wrong with this chemtrail information, so I tried explaining it in a different way. And initially I thought that these new engines may operate, but once they get up into the sky, they might switch from fuel when they get to a certain speed and start sucking in air and just blast that out of the back, which will propel them to high speeds. And that could have been what was leaving the trails in the sky, because it's basically water vapor. And the theory on these new engines may be sucking in air and not using so much fuel as what we've been told has actually been mentioned on some live hangouts that I've watched since over the past year. So other people have thought of this as well, but what I have never heard mentioned, and it's really the reason for the video on chemtrails, is my own, is what you're looking at here. Now this is something I found when I went searching for a patent that was, and I have seen it before, but I couldn't find it. I wasn't spending any more time in it, and it was in 1943 during World War II that the Germans, there's a patent that some of you may be able to find on something other than Google, because I wasn't spending too much time on this video, and it was about turning water into petrol from pressure, I think it was coal or something like that. And it also put me onto the idea that how they were, because that I don't believe in nukes, they are fake, I'm not getting into that, but the heavy water that is apparently a part of the process of making nukes could indeed have been what the Allies were trying to destroy. It could have been fuel, and I will show you some of that here. Anyway, this image here, this patent from this Indian bloke, is something similar, not exactly the same, and you can go read these next few slips here that I've found. There is something to do with what I've just mentioned. So we can see what something as simple as a bird strike does to the outer frame of something like a Boeing 747. And I am begging anybody that's not seen any videos on when they are testing these types of planes, they put them on a rail and fire them down a track and get them up to about 200 plus miles per hour and make them strike a wall, a concrete rebar reinforced wall, sometimes a brick wall, and well, in fact, no matter what type of wall they hit, I can absolutely guarantee you 100% people that they smash into a thousand pieces all over the place, and there is hardly any damage on that wall, no matter how many times that they do it. I did not want to cover any 9/11 information because what more can I add to the mountain of evidence that's been covered since 2002? Nothing. I just thought I would throw a few images at you, suppose people that are new to the information, which should at least be knocking on their door by now. But I will say that YouTube has since censored this information on 9/11, flat earth, and they are now beginning to censor fake space and the fake events. So with anybody with a brain, they should realize after hearing that they have basically exposed themselves. If they haven't realized the reason why they would be censoring that information, with the topics I am going to cover next, which is disinformation in the so-called conspiracy side of things, which has basically run out of control. Maybe they're starting to run out of ideas, and I'm going to show you why I don't agree with the game, which is what I started on this video with chemtrails. It is funny how I just watched this weekend a movie called Skyscraper. And if any of you have not seen that, it is funny how Hollywood, always controlled all by the same people, did actually put that film out. You've got this huge skyscraper, something like 3 times bigger than what the Twin Towers were, and it completely caught fire. A third from the bottom, so 2/3 of it was completely on fire. I mean, completely, and the thing never fell down. Of course, because when you look into these structures and how they're built and what with rebar and girders all the way through, you could blow the entire top off completely and the rest of the structure would not fall down ever in a million years. But that goes to show that you can't trust anything on television. And when you look at the top of this picture, you will notice how the top of it is bent. It's skull width. It's literally bending on a curve without breaking any of the concrete. Take a look at that one, which goes into the why when shills come to the channel and they constantly throw the comment out, don't you believe in science? Science says this, science says that. Science is always wrong. They're completely talking out their ass, because you've got a group of engineers that will sit in a courtroom arguing the fact how fire can knock a skyscraper down, amongst other things. Anyway, these next images was in the news about a month ago. For those that haven't seen it, it shocked me, and it is real. It's the recent vaccine program that they're trying to get moving in America. And what you're looking at there is an image. The One of the major news channels across America used to help push their vaccine program. Obviously, the people on there are just reading a script, but you can see how the image was manipulated. Right, so this is something else that I never agreed with. The first time that I saw it, I thought it was a bit fishy. This is obviously hologram technology that the rulers are meant to have. And this has been out for a couple of years, and it's in a sports centre, and they are meant to be able to manifest a hologram just in thin air with what seemingly seems like no kind of projection system around it or anything like that. But when I saw this, it just looked too good, too real, and like I said, there's nothing around it to project it. Now, I know for a fact that you need something to project a hologram onto, even if it's smoke, but if it was smoke, it wouldn't come out as perfect as this. I mean, this is something from Star Wars. This is again seeing something on TV and people believe in it. The second image here, if you look at the hologram and the people stood at the side of this picture, that hologram and stage is behind them, and they are looking side on but slightly forward. Yes, they are not, their eyes are not on that image, which has obviously been pasted in. The third image here is probably where you could say this is how it works, but again, this even looks real. Now, I do know that in Japan this is meant to be a pop star, a hologram, but it won't just be projected into thin air. I can tell you it will be something like a green screen. I've got some images of the same technology, or what it will be shortly. This image here, you can see how it's in a box. It still looks fake. Anyway, the last one here is the same system, but maybe based in reality, and it's a green screen. Okay, this is how it works. I think HARP is no different. Now, it is meant to be working in conjunction with the chemtrails, which I have already told you what I think to that. So this will be no different. But if you want to think that little areas like this can go and control the weather as it's circling around us, then go ahead. And this topic is the biggest load of garbage that I've wanted to be touching on for a while. The downloading of consciousness to a computer. Because when I talk about people watching too much telly, Star Wars, things like that, then this is really taking the cake, people. I mean, science doesn't even know where consciousness resides, never mind being able to put your consciousness into a computer. I can't think of anything more stupid, just like these robots. Now, I'm going to say now, in fact, I'm going to make a prediction that in your lifetime, in your children's lifetime, if this reality goes that far, you will never see robots with any type of consciousness whatsoever, because the machines, they have to be programmed with every single piece of information. right? They will never have any flicker of consciousness whatsoever. And not only that, robots break down. It's the same reason why I know for a fact that we're never going to have a road full, say, of drivable cars. Yes, you might get them where they can reverse and do this and that, or unless they put them on a track, right? Because if people broke into the system, it would be chaos. But they wouldn't even allow it because machines break down, signals go array, okay? Just like this thing, I heard this the other day, and these are these bots. Because it's like nukes, isn't it? The military will put out information, well, the government, I suppose, that they are all powerful and that they can send these bots out and they can fly around in formation and stick to your head. And, well, I can tell you, when I've had these helicopters, the smaller and lighter that they are, they just get blown away. But how ridiculous. And this Q information, this is really, I suppose, the beginner's ladder for the masses that's beginning to look outside the box. But I can tell you, this type of information isn't doing nothing but keeping them in the box.